Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I hope you are enjoying yourselves. I hope you are enjoying the UMGC Mill Vet Net. All right, well, great. A lot of great resources here between our veteran service organizations, our employers, and our entrepreneur resources. So we are super excited for our next phase of the event, which is our guest speaker. And I am thrilled to introduce you to that guest speaker. We've got Dr. Xavier Bruce, also known as Dr. X. He is a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel with 24 years of service. He's a certified professional coach, certified wellness coach, and certified resilience building leadership professional trainer. He created a self-leadership development program to assist veterans in overcoming the stress and anxiety associated with life transitions. Many of you may have transitioned from the military or had a family member transition from the military, or maybe about to embark on your own transition. Well, he has a program and a plan and some helpful tips to help you navigate that transition well. Dr. X holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the U.S. Air Force Academy, an MBA from Wayland Baptist University, and a Doctorate of Business Administration from Walden University. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Xavier Bruce to the stage.
All right, thanks, Doc. Truly appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. Good afternoon, comrades. All right, hey, I see some familiar faces in the crowd, so many familiar faces. I love it. I love it. Makes this job easier. So it was back in 2011. I was on the phone arguing with my first wife. Oh, we're going to get real here. We're going to get transparent. Go ahead and unloosen your tie. Look, I am transparent, vulnerable. I don't care what you think about me to a certain extent, because I want you to take some good groceries away with you, some good food for thought. So back to my story. 2011, I was in Afghanistan. Mind you, I had volunteered to go to Kuwait and was voluntold to go to Afghanistan. I don't know if that has ever happened to someone, the bait and switch. So I felt like I wasn't even supposed to be there. So arguing, and boom, rocket exploded not far away from my building. Everything shook, I had to hit the floor, and then I got up, and as I was running to the bunker, I looked to my right, and you could see the plume of smoke and dust not too far away from where I was working. And not like the movies where the bunkers are underground. Who's been in Afghanistan? Where are the bunkers? There are no bunkers. There's like center block that you crawl under. So I'm sitting there. I'm an early bird, so I was there by myself. And I wasn't interested or comfortable enough going to military medical care. I just wasn't comfortable. I didn't trust it. The stigma associated with what we know as PTSD, it was not something that I was willing to risk. And I had top secret clearance, didn't want to lose that. So I was like, okay, well, I can't talk to my wife because we're at odds. My brother and I, we had fallen out. Don't want to go to the hospital. I got to uplift myself. Now, I know many of you all know my real tagline, but I've been told not to use my real tagline. But I knew I had to uplift myself. And fast forward 12 years, I built a framework that helps others overcome that stress and anxiety associated with life transitions. It may not be only transition out of the military, but it could be divorce. It could be a student transitioning into adulthood. So hopefully all of you all here will pick up something from this framework, because what we want to do is, who remembers OODA loop? What does OODA loop stand for? OODA. The ability to what? Observe, orient, decide, and act. The idea is for you to put this framework into your OODA loop. That way, in the moment, you can inspire, empower, and uplift yourself. Again, I'm Dr. X, and today we're going to talk about what, so what, now what, and but how. Many times we talk about the what, but not the so what or the but how. So there's different types of stress. The eustress, focused attention, that's great. Like right now, I'm in eustress. Maybe about 30 minutes ago, I was like, okay, will I get some people that I know in the crowd? What would the energy be? And this table right here is filled with people that I know of. So I got a hype woman over here that's gonna keep me straight. And I see other people in the crowd, you know, Sean, I see others in the crowd. I see Mr. Toole somewhere in here. Many people here that has gotten me into this eustress, my focused attention. I can look you in the eye and tell you what this is going to be about and how you will be able to put this in your toolkit. So I talked about how we're going to look at what, so what, now what, and but how. So what? What is this all about? Okay, you talk about uplift and inspire and empower. So let's do a deep dive into what. The first thing you have to do, and there are 3 steps. The first thing you need to do is identify your energy block. What's blocking you from having good energy? Many of you all have heard of the term triggers. So we'll talk about what triggers may look like in your life and how to address those. So step 1, identify your energy block. What this is showing is that you have triggers. It could be, let me be honest, what is my trigger? My trigger is feeling trapped because I felt trapped in that bunker, not knowing if more incoming was coming in. I felt trapped in a relationship that maybe I stayed in too long. And that, again, I'm going to be transparent here. And I'm sure many of you all may feel trapped in certain things, maybe a job, maybe a relationship, maybe a situation. And what it does is it affects your feelings. But it starts with a thought. So who remembers a song by a gentleman named Tupac? Named So Many Tears. Anybody? Okay. All right. So as you know, if it's not an acronym, it doesn't exist in the military, right? So tears to me is thoughts, emotions, actions, results, solutions. So everything starts with a thought, and your thought affects how you feel. And then you're going to act out, you're going to have results, and hopefully you have potential solutions. What we're doing this afternoon, within the next hour or so, we're going to talk about solutions toward the end so that you don't walk away with just an increased amount of knowledge that you're not going to be able to use. This is the actual bunker that I was sitting in. And that energy block was something that restricted me and kept me in a negative thought pattern. So as I transitioned from the military and I got on that couch, for me, the couch wasn't that comfortable, if you know what I mean. I thought it was going to be like on TV, the couch. I did seek therapy, and we talked about this situation. Nowadays, my triggers still result from feeling trapped, but I might start sweating or shaking when I'm feeling like I'm trapped in a conversation. You ever talk to someone and then they just start sweating and you're like, what the hell is, what's going on? That's someone who may feel trapped in that situation. in SET. SET is an acronym for Strategic Energetic Transition. That is the framework. That's the mental model that we're talking about today. So when you see SET, Strategic Energetic Transition, these are strategies to help you transition your energy from negative, catabolic, to positive, which is anabolic energy. Now, we experience energy blocks when we deal with an activating event. A trigger, it doesn't have to be a missile or a rocket. It could be a conversation. It could be a relationship issue. It could be in between jobs. Many of you are here because you're in between blessings. At no fault of your own, you're in between having an occupation. And in some cases, you may have more month than money. You're like, man, I got to move this money to here, and I got to pull this out and shift this over. I need to put this on my credit card because I don't have it in my checking account. Maybe I'm the only one who's had to think about these things. Okay, all right, so I appreciate it. So any event that triggers stress is an energy block. Energy blocks can mess up the way that we show up. And what you'll see soon is that mess up is an acronym. Mess up is an acronym that helps us decide what these types of activating events are doing to us from the inside out. As I mentioned, could be in between jobs, could have health issues. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm 100% disabled. I have arthritis running through my body. I have PTSD. I have sleep apnea and some more things. Some of you all in here have the same issues, and you're just enduring it. You go to bed hurting, you wake up hurting, you're hurting throughout the day, and you're finding different ways to cope with it. Some of those ways may not be healthy. So I mentioned mess up. Mess up is an acronym for mental, emotional, spiritual, social, universal, and physical. We don't have enough time to go through each of these. We're only going to focus on mental. Most of these are self-explanatory. Universal, you may not have seen before, but this is how is your universe set up? Your world, your space, your environment, your time. What type of neighborhood do you live in? Is there shooting? Is it a calm, peaceful type of neighborhood? Time. What's your idea of time management? Is it a difference between time management and decision management? Something to consider. But we're just going to focus on mental, which is page 15 in your workbook. There's a workbook. Hopefully there's enough on the table. We will be referring to that a few times over the next half hour or so. And I wanted to mention that if you have any questions, because I don't want to talk the whole time, and I'm sure you don't want to be talked at the whole time. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. I don't have to get through all these slides to be successful, if you will. I'm successful if you take something away from this presentation. So if you have any questions, concerns, remarks, please raise your hand and we'll address those as appropriate. Now, we're only going to focus on the mental. As I mentioned, there are acronyms that we use in order to remember things. My mind has shifted since my 24 years in the military and the things that I've gone through. So I learned things in acronyms. So the acronym you're about to see now is ALIBI, A-L-I-B-I, starting with the A, assumptions. These are things that we feel will certainly happen again, good or bad. You may feel like because you got to a certain level in the military that, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine on the way out. Anyone thought that they would be able to get a six-figure job once they transition and did not? But you just knew that your skill set would have gotten you that particular job. So that's one example. But then you may have gotten into going out for different jobs, interviewing, never getting callbacks, and you may feel like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm not going to be able to take care of my family. And you may assume that you're not going to be very successful in life. So that's an assumption that it will certainly happen again. The L is a limiting belief. These are things that you accept about life that limit you in some way. That could be a number of things that you believe. You can believe in the way the world works. You can believe that different people in the world are, out to get you or don't want you to succeed. That can limit you from even trying to do better, or even trying. You coming to this event lets me know that you don't have the limited belief that nothing's going to work. So you've gone to these different tables, you've gotten swag bags with business cards and handouts. Why? Because you're not limiting your belief that something will break through. The I is for interpretation. It's something that you believe is universally true. Well, it could be your truth, but we'll talk about how to see interpretations for what they are. So as you can see here with the image, is he looking at you or is he looking to the side? Well, it depends on your interpretation. Just an example. Now, one thing that we can do in order to, when we're interpreting things, we have to be present. We have to listen attentively and actively. I'm not very good at active listening. I don't know if I'm the only one here who may not catch everything that someone is saying, and we may get distracted. Sometimes our phone vibrates, or if we have an Apple Watch, it'll vibrate. And we're wondering, okay, is that an email that I've been waiting for? Is that someone hitting like on something that I've just posted on social media? But we're talking to someone, and they may be wanting I'm sure they want our undivided attention, but guess what? We're distracted with different things in life, especially in this day and age. So the more attention we give, the less interpretations that we have, the less false interpretations that we have. So the point here is to be present. The B in alibi is bias. There are different isms, not just racism, but there's also some other isms. So I'm going to stop here and pause and have some of you all maybe share what other isms are out there that may be a bias. Ageism, cynicism, ableism. Okay? Sexism. There's classism. What else? There's even lookism. Somebody may look crazy to you. Hedonism. Okay. There's different isms that are out there. I thought I heard somebody else. Patriotism. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that there's different bias that are out there. With patriotism, there are some organizations, there are some employers that are all about patriotism, but not all of them want to hire a veteran. Anyone realize that? It may be eye-opening. It may be enlightening. Did she say astigmatism? Well, you know what? I'm going to work with you on that. Some people may not want to hire someone with glasses. I helped you out. No.
In relationship to how people perceive people, right? Because all veterans aren't out there. All veterans aren't sick veterans, right? So I think the way people perceive veterans is something that needs to change.
Got it. Now I'm tracking Not all of us are broken. Not all of us have PTSD. So my point is that you have to realize that not all employers would like to hire you. So don't quit. Don't give up. Sir.
So I'd like to challenge that all veterans don't have PSD with all of us do. And it's to a degree.
Okay.
Because it has affected us mentally
Okay.
in some kind of way that either benefits us or can, work against us.
Okay.
So understanding or accepting it, I believe, is important to be more fair to each other. And that's all for him.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. The fact that we're all, whether you're a veteran or retiree, we all went through something, and that needs to be acknowledged and appreciated. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that inner critic, that negative self-talk, that voice that says, man, you should have stayed in. Or why did you get out? Or why did you let that person force you out? Or why did you get so angry that you got out when you did? It's that gremlin. It's that gremlin that tells you, hey, it's just nagging at you. Who wants to share what their inner critic says to them? Ma'am. I'm not good enough. Yeah. And that's tough. Man. Who resonates with that statement? Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
Why even try?
Yeah. Why waste my time and everybody else's time even trying? Yeah. Who else? Ma'am? Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth my time, my effort, my energy? Or am I embarrassing myself? Why even dress up to come here? I could have been doing something else. Why did I even come to this event? Well, it's because you're resilient. You're resilient. Whether you know it or not, whether somebody's going to tell you or not, you are resilient, and that's why you're here. So what? So we talked about the 6 types of stress that mess up the way that we show up. So what? Well, now it's time to analyze your energy level, your energetic self-perception. How do you perceive yourself on an energetic level? And there's 7 levels, and we'll talk about that here briefly. When we talk about energy blocks, if they are unchecked, it's going to keep us in a catabolic state. Catabolic is a fancy word for negative energy. Woe is me. My life sucks. I don't know where I'm going. Why did I even come to this event? Why am I even trying? Well, there's also anabolic energy, which is rejuvenating, it's charging, it's positive, it's optimistic, it's opportunistic. Well, if you have draining and destructive energy, you want to try to find ways to get constructive and healing energy. Go into solution mode. You're in solution mode. You're trying to find solutions. You're trying to find a way to make sure that you're taken care of, your family is taken care of, and that you're living your best life. So you're in solution mode just by being here. You want to stay out of self-sabotage and negative actions as much as possible, but it's understandable to be here, but it's not necessary. Understandable, but unnecessary. What happens is, when we're dealing with stress is coming at us all the time. It comes through a spigot, and what we have to do over here is make sure that there's more recovery to empty that bucket of stress. Now, right here, there's insufficient and sustainable stress. Then, as you get more stress, It's a sufficient level of stress, but it's still sustainable. But as it keeps going up, and some of you all are just one step away from doing something that you may regret doing or saying, okay? And it fills up. But your recovery, so you're not getting any recovery. And then on top of that, health issues, relationship troubles. One of the biggest issues with relationships is money, financial hardships. That's most of your arguments. It's not so much about what we're having for dinner or chores around the house or even intimacy. It's money issues. Poor dietary patterns, lack of movement. If you're not happy with where you are in life, you're not going to want to work out. You're not going to want to take a walk or go to the gym or get into a physical fitness regimen because you just don't feel like it, and you may stay up late at night watching TV. So you're not getting any type of recovery. Look at the recovery now, just one drop, and it's filling up to the top. What I would like for you all to consider are the different actions that you can take in order, again, the stress is still coming, but the bucket is getting lower. And look at the recovery. You're getting more recovery. Why? Because mindfulness. You're getting more sleep, spending time with friends and family. In fact, you'll see on your table, there's an event that we host called First Friday Vet Working. Why? Because it's important that our veterans, our service members, and their family members get out of this isolation, depression. Come break bread and get out and about so that you're spending time with your comrades. And as you can see at the bottom, there's more recovery coming out of the spigot, of the bucket. The idea, comrades, is to go from victim to victory. Most of our society resonates between victim and instigator. I lose, I should just crawl in a cave somewhere and disappear, to, you know what? It's your fault that I am where I am. It could be a spouse. It could be a child. It could be a parent that you're taking care of. How many people here are in the sandwich generation where you're taking care of your kids and your parents? Ooh, that's tough. You never really thought about that in your 20s and 30s. Now you're taking care of both. Now you're taking care of both. The stress associated with that. And this is on page 32 in your workbook. As I mentioned, most of us resonate between levels 1 and 2. We're trying to operate in 3 through 7. Your best self. This is where, and it's almost like the stock market. You're never going to be always level 7, and hopefully you're not going to be always level 1 either. I know for a fact that you're not a chronic level 1, or you would not have gotten dressed to come here. So the idea is to get out of catabolic and move into anabolic. How much time we got? All right. And again, I need to look around, see, are there any, let me stop and pause, see if there's any questions or remarks. Okay. All right. So I talk about these energy blocks, right? It blocks you from getting up to even cooperating with yourself and others. You don't even, at this level, you don't even want to cooperate with people. Tender lover, that's when you're concerned about yourself. You may stop at level 4 and say, you know what, maybe I am drinking too much. Damn, I was just going to have 2 and end up having, I lost count, you know? So that's something that as a student of Uplift, as a participant of this session, you learn that, hey, if I get to at least level 3, cooperator, then I'm in the right zone. Sir?
How do you get out of the victim instigator?
we're going to talk about what's called a self-directive, meaning when you're at the point that you're depressed or you're so angry that you want to throat chop somebody, there's some things that there's a formula that you can say to yourself that will help you calm down in the moment. Uplift and strategic energetic transition is about what do you do in the moment, on site. You don't have time to look at the workbook or call a friend or phone a friend. What do you do in the moment so that you don't cuss somebody out or get violent? Because your bucket is about to overflow and you're one false move from irreparable damage. So to your question, there are self-directives, and we're going to go into, you remember I talked about but how? We're going to talk about exactly what you asked. Great question. Anything else? Okay. So as you can see, my face is fairly okay, right? It's fairly clear. Well, that's me in 2011. That's my forehead. Bumps on top of bumps. See, with me, and I'll ask for people to be transparent, but for me, stress manifests itself through acne. My face will bump. Oh, man, I had bumps on top of bumps. And that's how it manifests itself in me. Who would like to share how stress manifests itself in you? Ma'am?
Chest pain.
Chest pain.
Yes.
Okay. Chest pain. Acne, okay. Sir?
Get tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision, okay.
I'll lock in on whatever's stressing me out.
Yeah.
I'll tone out the rest of the world, and I'll make my own focus.
Yeah. Wow, tunnel vision.
Weight loss.
Weight loss. Interestingly enough, some people have weight loss while others have weight gain. But both are, both are equally catabolic. You don't want to lose weight, and some don't want to gain weight. So thanks for sharing that dynamic, the fact that you lose weight through stress. Sir? Irritable. Oh, man. Anyone get pre-pissed off? Well, you're like, man, he or she better not come to my cubicle this morning. Ooh, if they come at me crazy this morning, I don't know what I'm going to do or say. So, yeah, irritable. Anyone else? Ma'am? Autopilot. Elaborate on autopilot.
Like, I just go with emotions. Like, I went through like a phase in my life that I was so stressed out that I wouldn't remember certain things. So I was just like, oh, I'll wake up, I'll go to work. And I'm like, when did I get to work?
Yeah.
So I went like straight autopilot.
Wow. Like I drove an hour, but how did I get here?
I was like, I'm at work. When did I get here? I said, oh, this morning you said bye. You don't remember that? I'm like, oh.
Wow. Yeah.
So autopilot.
Wow, I love the transparency in this room. I love it. I thought I saw another hand. Sir?
Can I say something?
Sure.
That actually happened to me when I got looked at with everything. They said that when you start getting to a certain point where stress is blocking your reality, you must seek mental help. You can't break it on your own. Like you actually will reach a point where your mind is becoming toxic to you. I drove to work and was completely spaced out. Had no idea how I got there, when, why, how I left the house, nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a real thing.
And that's a great segue into my caveat. I say uplift yourself. That doesn't mean stop asking for therapy, stop asking for coaching, stop going to church, stop taking your blood pressure medication. This means, hey, what do you do in the moment? How do you give yourself, you remember self-aid buddy care? How do you give yourself self-aid in the moment? And then reach out to a therapist, a coach, mentor, you name it. But these are things to do in the moment. Again, victim energy, I'm stressed, nobody cares about me. You focus on things that you don't want. And then you go up to the next level. At level 1, I lose, my life sucks, why am I here? Well, then at level 2, you become the instigator. That's me again. I'm clearing up a little bit, but I'm angry, still angry. Driven by anger. It's your fault. It's that spouse, that child, that parent. Some of us have parents that, may keep us back in some form or fashion. We love our parents, but sometimes, they can be some kind of way, right? At times. We hate to believe that, but it happens. It happens. We're going to skip levels 3 through 6 and move to level 7. Your best self. This is me focused, fearless, creating. When I got to level 7, that's when I created Uplift Energy Coaching. Because I got to the point where I was non-judgmental, absolutely passionate, and started creating. You get into this creative phase, and no one can stop you when you're level 7. Again, you're not going to always be level 7. You're going to dip, but I just wanted to show you that at level 7, you're creating each moment, and you have access to truth beyond illusion. Now what? Remember? Okay, so we've gone through what, so what, now what? Now we have to make a command decision. You all remember that phrase? Make a command decision. And for those of y'all who may not have heard that phrase, that's when you make a decision without much influence. You have to make it in the moment. You don't have time for a staff meeting. You don't have time to ask your manager, your supervisor, your commander. You have to make it in the moment. So now at step 3, make a command decision. So now that we know all the pieces, okay, so these are the 7 levels of energy from victim to victory. These are the 6 types of stress that mess up the way that we show up, with mental to physical. And what we're finding in our clients is that there's another element. It's that financial piece. That financial piece, man, that's one of the reasons, maybe one of the top 3 reasons why you're here, the financial piece. So we're looking at the level that we're at and where we want to go. But how do we raise it? Back to your question, Sean. How do we raise it? Making a command decision. Here's another acronym. And there are 2 types. Energetic, more personal. What can you do in your head as a creative? Then there are practical as well. There are practical support decisions as well. What do you put in place? Well, what's the difference? Why are there 2 types of uplifters? Why is there energetic and practical? Well, there are some things that you can do on your own in your head, but then there are some things you need to put in place. You need a job. That's practical. Now, you can have a positive energy associated with it. That's energetic. So these are the 2 differences. Now, when it comes to all these different uplifters, there's 2 sets, and then there's 8 per. All we're going to focus on with energetic is inspirational. How do you inspire yourself? Remember that first slide? I said 3 things to do for yourself. What were those 3 things? That first slide. It was empower, uplift. The first word was inspire. How do you inspire yourself? We're so used to trying to inspire other people, our kids and people in our jobs, but how do you inspire yourself? Well, let's take a look at that. Well, you say to yourself, this is going to be fun. I'm going to like this. I'm going to go out this first Friday. I'm going to have a good time. And how many have attended my first Friday vet workings? Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I hope to see more hands the next time that I do this. But the idea is that you're going to inspire yourself. You're going to build some social capital. And what this is saying is that you have to identify the energy block, which in this case is energy block 2, emotional, sadness. You can be sad because you don't feel like you can talk to anybody. Nobody understands you. You're a veteran. All your friends, they didn't go to the military. So you can even share your war stories with them. They think you're crazy. Or they say, man, get over it. And you're like, I can't just get over that. Some of the things that I saw, some of the comrades that I lost, I just can't get over that. Well, this is an opportunity when you're dealing with building social capital to inspire yourself and get out of this emotional sadness. And when you analyze your energy level, see now we're going through the 3 steps. The energy block was emotional, energy level was level 1, and we have to make a command decision, which is, there we go, inspirational appeal. Choose excitement over dread. Sometimes we dread certain things. We dread going to social events. We dread going to work at times. Attend high energy events, such as the First Friday and the Conduit. The Conduit is also on your table. That's an event for care coordination and claims. It gets you squared away, and that's another way to make a command decision. Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. What questions do you have before we go into practical support decisions? Okay. So now we're looking at practical support decisions. Some of you all may see on your table a boot camp, Uplift Leadership Academy, but these are some other things to put in place. You may have seen some of them in the next room, but these are practical decisions to make in order to get squared away. Take a moment to look at that. And in your workbook, it's page number 60 in your workbook. So hopefully, after this session, you'll have the workbook to take home and refer to so that you'll be able to put some of these things into play. Find you hopefully you have someone in your family or someone close to you that you can trust. But if not, consider getting some professional advice to put practical things into play in order to what? Reduce that stress and anxiety. So, but how? Back to Sean's point, but how? Well, self-regulate. I'm going to say something, and I'm going to see if I get any response. Remember call and response from the military? And as you remember, level 6 energy was, well, maybe this will help you remember. If I say this, regulators! I love it. I love it. I was hoping that would work. So that was a song by Warren G, Regulators. The idea here is to look at 3 ways to self-regulate, okay? Prevent triggers by being present. What I mean by that is sometimes we jump to conclusions. We hear the conversation and we're like, I know where this is going. And we're like, we get angry. But if we listen to maybe not the tone, and my wife is not here, right? So she has a tone. She has a tone, and it's part of it is her culture, but her tone. When we first met, I just couldn't get used to it. But the words, as we've been married a while now, and it's taken me a couple of years to realize that, okay, the tone is one thing. I talked to her about that, but it's being present and hearing what she has to say. She has my best interest in mind. But if we're not careful, we will block out everything else because we don't like the tone associated with what's being said. I see a lot of head. Am I the only one? Okay, all right, okay, appreciate that. We have to maintain composure through controlled tactics. Just keep it together. Keep it together. Don't go off. and choose an effective response using a self-directive. What does that look like? Here's the formula. Whenever I experience that trigger, I will avoid cussing somebody out. And I will do this instead. I will pause, I will go to another room, I will go take a walk. Here's a sample. Whenever I experience feeling treated unfairly by a microaggression, who knows the definition of a microaggression? Who's willing to share? Ma'am.
It's a statement or phrase, something that it's kind of like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
It's put in a nice frame, but it's really denigrating you.
Oh, you speak so articulate. That's a micro insult. Because that's basically saying, well, typically, people of people like you tend to not be articulate. So if you're doing that, stop doing that. That's a microaggression. I see a couple of hands here and then back here.
Passive aggression.
Passive aggression. Okay. Could you provide an example, please?
Like you say something calmly, but you mean it like in a mean type way, or like you call yourself giving a compliment, but it's not really a compliment.
Right. No, good point. Ma'am.
So you say, oh, you are so cute for your size.
Oh, yeah. Ma'am. You get that? You are pretty to be dark-skinned. Wow. Yeah. Aw. One more.
One that I get on a regular basis is you talk white.
You talk white. Wow. Interesting. Those are microaggressions. They come in the form of micro insults, micro assaults, also micro inequities. And there are several others as well. But if you haven't heard of these before, go look them up, because either you've been a victim of them and you've been wondering, why did I feel some kind of way about what that person said? They said it in a nice way. They were smiling, but it may be conscious or unconscious in terms of a microaggression. Okay, we got about 10 minutes left. Ask yourself these provocative questions as well. Provocative questions, these are open-ended. These are not closed, yes, no questions. These are more of questions that get you to think. So for assumptions, we're going through alibi again. We're wrapping up here. For assumptions, just because that happened in the past, why must it happen again? Both good and bad. You may have worked your way up in the military, but you may not work your way up in the civilian workforce. Or you may have gotten in trouble, or things may not have worked out in the military, but that doesn't mean that things won't work out in your new position. So it works both ways. For limiting beliefs, man, where did I get that idea from? My brother's not here, right? So I got a lot of ideas from my brother. And I followed him to the Air Force Academy. I followed him here. He told me this and that, financial advice. Well, things didn't work out in terms of some of the ideas that I got from my brother. But that could also happen with your parents, right? Your mother, your father. They could have beliefs, limiting beliefs that they passed on to you. Ask yourself, how has that belief affected me? Interpretations, what would someone else say about what happened? You're mad, you interpreted something, and it's really making you angry. If we stopped and thought about, okay, what would that person say about the situation? It may help us reveal that perhaps we fell short of being clear and being anabolic. Bias, how has it affected me? How do I counteract it? And inner critic. What will I name it? So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but naming your inner critic, naming that voice in your head. I named mine Uncle Ruckus. That's my inner critic. I'm like, But what happens is you personalize the inner critic, that gremlin. Sometimes it's called gremlin. But when you name it, you can depersonalize it from yourself. Perhaps don't name it an ex-spouse. Give it another name. But that is one way to get over that. All right, so let's wrap up. Let me see, did I skip one? No, okay. All right, so we're about to wrap up. This is right on time, good timing. And then we're going to open it up for any questions that you may have. Okay, so what are the 6 types of stress that mess up the way that you show up? Can I get a hand? Who's been paying attention? The 6 types of stress that mess up the way that we show up. Ma'am.
Mental, emotional, spiritual, social, universal, and physical.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Somebody was paying attention. What are the 3 steps to uplift yourself? I'll give you a hint. I am.
Identify the energy blocks, analyze the energy level, and make command decisions.
Open book test. My man. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Love it. And what can help you effectively respond to a trigger? Sean, you know this one. It's a hyphenated word. Self-directive. A self-directive. Absolutely. So, next steps. In order to stay in touch with Dr. X and Uplift, there are ways in which you can take this a step further. Group training, facilitation, speaking engagements such as this. A monthly event, again, it's on your table, or you can always go to the website and see the latest events that are out there and connect with me on social media as well. Website is there, upliftleadershipacademy.com. And thank you for learning ways to inspire, empower, and uplift yourself. Out here. Any questions, comments, remarks? Somebody said that they were going to bring tomatoes. Okay, good.
So we have 2 mics in the room, so if you have any questions, please feel free to come to the mic.
Sir? So they can be recorded.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Yeah. Well, this was a great presentation. Thank you for that, first of all. But I'm actually considering coming to your Friday event. I was hoping you can elaborate on it, kind of give us some insight on how the interactions will go on that particular day.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you for that question. First Friday, vet working. Happy hour of power. This event will be this Friday starting at 4:30 at Busboys and Poets in Columbia, Maryland. The idea is to get to know, like, and trust your comrades, getting you out of isolation, depression. Again, you may not have many friends now that you're out of the military. Well, guess what? This event has service members, veterans, family members, friends, allies, a psychologically safe space to break bread, get to know people. Part of it is you'll see that it's a business card exchange as well. That is both at the Conduit and at the First Friday Vet Working event. It's on your own in terms of, pay as you go, food and drinks or whatever. And you will have a battle buddy or a wingman just in case, you want to enjoy yourself a little bit more than you would ordinarily. So we'll be, keeping an eye out for those who really want to have a good time. But again, First Friday Vet Working is rebuilding that camaraderie and esprit de corps that we left when we got out. Ma'am.
I have one little bone of contention with when you're talking about how to self-regulate in terms of this is a situation, this is what I don't want to do, do this instead. Because from a neuro-linguistic standpoint, that no, your brain doesn't know the difference. If there's a no in the comment or the statement, that's what your brain focuses on. And so you have a tendency to do the thing you don't want to do. So I would just go from this is the situation, I will do this.
I love it. Talked about thank you for that, neuro-linguistics. So instead of saying, I don't want, or I can't, or I want, use your words carefully. Use words like I choose to, or I've decided to, or I will. So thank you for sharing that, because it makes a difference. Neuro-linguistics, when you say it, you attract it. If it's no or don't or can't, it will show up in your life. So thank you for sharing that. Who else? Man.
Just a comment. I was blown away by your why, number 7, your best self, teachings of Buddha. I don't know if that's what you're in, but the whole winning and losing are illusions, which is so antithetical to what we as a population do. I mean, that's aspirational, and that's very powerful. I'm walking away with that one.
All right.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that.
Sorry, at one point, you did bring up the fact that you help with claims, correct?
Yes, that's at the conduit.
Okay, is it in the pamphlet or?
Yes, it's one of the small pamphlets. Yes.
Okay, so-
It's going to be on May 20th. That's the next one in Columbia, Maryland.
Okay.
Yes. So for those of you all who need to put your claim in, or you feel like you need to be at 100% because that changes your whole life,
Yes.
90 to 100 changes your life. So I'm speaking from experience. Sir.
So I'm actually a recruiter. I've been out while I'm a veteran from the world's greatest Navy. And I find myself inspiring so many transitioning service members day in and day out, trying to get them to recharge. How do I inspire and recharge after I pour into so many people on a daily basis?
Wow. That's a great question. What happens is we get compassion fatigue. We get things such as, you pour into so many other people that you don't get a chance to do that yourself. You have to find what brings you joy. Notice I didn't say happiness. Joy is more enduring. Happiness, you can be happy this morning, but then somebody says something to you this afternoon and now you're angry. But joy, what brings you joy? Is it creating things? Is it painting? Is it writing? Is it music? So it's those things that inspire you, that helps you just unplug. You may need to turn off your phone, like turn it off, not even on vibrate. Turn off your computer and carve out time in your schedule for recharging. And that doesn't necessarily mean sleep, but just being away from people. If you have a partner or a spouse, communicate with them that, hey, this is something that I need to do. I need my space. Even if it's not at home, it could be you going to watch a movie by yourself. Could be your way of recharging. So I would be intentional about carving out time in my schedule in order to recharge a way that works for you. You know, practicing Buddhism or riding a bike, someone else may do. But for you, it may be, listening to old school music. Who else? One thing I wanted to mention is that we're growing, we're expanding, we're trying to help as many veteran service organizations as possible. We became a partner with the Black Veterans Empowerment Council, and I just wanted to I guess, I wanted to see how we can be of service to you all, each and every one of you all, as well as to UMGC. And I just wanted to point out that the board chairman is here, Mr. Sean Detweiler. So it'll be great if he can, it'll be great to have a relationship with the BVAC and UMGC. So that's something that I would love, and that way we can grow and help more people and move forward. So, anyone else? All right, over to you, ma'am.
I think there's one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. You did this.
Thank you, because I was hesitant. Thank you very much for the presentation. It really inspired me, and then I remember a lot of things when you was presenting. And personally, I feel myself sometimes from level 1 to 7. So I can be at 7, but after 2 or 3 days, depending on what happened, I feel myself at 2 maybe. So my question is how to maintain that period 2. I think if you are 3 to 7, that's fine. But 1, 2, how to still be more than 3? Thank you.
Right. Great question. Great question. So we do not resonate. So we have an average resonating level. So it's never 1.0 and it's never 7.0. So we want to average at least 3.0, not 2.9, but at least 3.0 and above. And as a cooperator, what you're doing is you're taking at least 1% responsibility for where you are in life. Because when you don't take at least 1%, then you're the instigator, right? You level 2 and you're blaming everybody else. The company that's not hiring you, the relationship that held you back. Well, we're taking at least 1% responsibility. Maybe I need to work on my interview skills. Maybe I need to look into another industry. Maybe I need to figure out a new skill set. Maybe I need to go back to school versus, okay, woe is me. No one's calling me back. They must be, discriminating against me. Anyone ever fill out the end of an application and it asks you if you're a veteran and what your ethnicity is, and then part of you step back and you're like, wait a minute, is this going to help me or hurt me? Part of you says, okay, I'm saying that I'm a veteran. That's going to put me here. There's a pile over here, but me saying that I'm a veteran, boom. Okay. I don't know how that all works, but the point I'm making is we have to take at least 1% responsibility, and whatever that looks like for you, think about it, just kind of reflect on what can I take more responsibility over, because once you do that, then you have the power. When you have zero responsibility, it's everybody else who has the power, but taking at least 1% responsibility gives you the power, and that is how you start cooperating not only with other people, but you start cooperating with your better self. When I say cooperate, it's not always cooperating with others, but cooperating with your better self. And then what that's going to do is just going to open up possibilities. And just by doing that is going to allow you to resonate above 3.0.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. X.
Thank you.
Give him a great round of applause.
Thank you.
So I want to present 2 things to you. So first and foremost is my coin as the Assistant Vice President of Veterans Programs here at UMGC. Want to say thank you for coming out and just really blessing us and gracing us with your presence today and the inspiration that you provided to us. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then secondly, on behalf of our Senior Vice President of Global Military Operations, Major General Retired Lloyd Miles, I want to present to you his coin. He was unable to be here today, but he wanted to ensure that you knew just the impact that you made on our attendees here today with the wealth of information that you've provided. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So if I may, I hope each and every one of you receives something today. Each of us is somewhere on that continuum, whether we're at level 1 or at level 7. And someone had a great question in the back of the room about how do you inspire yourself when you pour out all day. By virtue of you being here, part of this particular event, on behalf of veterans and military affiliated members, you're pouring yourself out, whether you are a veteran service organization, an employer, or an entrepreneurial resource. You're pouring pouring into someone, whether you're pouring into your job or you're pouring into other people. So I hope that this session helped you to understand how to pour into yourself. Because when that spigot is empty, something has to go in. So these are the tools and the tips that you need to help you pour into yourself, to uplift yourself, and get to that next phase. There are workbooks on the table. Feel free to take those workbooks with you. They are for you. I think there may be a couple more on that back stand-up table to the rear, and there may also be one over here if you don't have one. But take time when you leave this particular room. The event is still going on until 2 p.m. across the way. So even if you are a vendor yourself, if you have a table yourself, I encourage you, break away just for a few minutes, introduce yourself to someone else, another table, and learn what they do. Because it's all to the benefit of helping our military and our veteran population. And thank you for your time.